Welcome back, guys. Automotive Inc. here. So today we are going to go for a drive. We are going to talk about doing Lyft and Uber and various other rideshare programs that you might be able to do. If you're new to the channel, smash the subscribe button down there for me. At the end of the video, hit a thumbs up and look in the description because I will have tons of links to other videos in regards to needs, wants, whatever you need for Uber that'll help you, and maybe another video later coming up that you may want to be subscribed for about how to maximize your earnings. So a few months ago I decided that I was going to add this type of income to my monthly budget, if you will, and so I went out and got a car and started driving. And throughout this video I'm going to talk about the things that I found out about it. Can and will you make enough money to live on, and is it really worth it? Well, let's go for a drive and find out. So now that we're out in the car, guys, let's talk about the reality of Uber and Lyft. Are you going to make a consistent living doing rideshare, no matter who you use, whether you use both apps or not? Can you make an honest living? Well, I think a lot of that goes into the area where you plan on driving. I know that I plan on typically wanting to do strictly airport runs. Reason being is most people are not intoxicated. I don't like working events where people might be drinking, get in the car, be a little rowdy, maybe get sick or something like that. That's never a fun thing, because once they get sick, no matter if you get it cleaned out or not, that's disgusting. So at the end of the day, that's really not going to be for me. But on those events, you could potentially have a lot of rides more back to back, but some of those people are going to need rides further, and then again you're going to have them kind of traipsing around being loud and rowdy. So you're going to have to figure out if that is going to be for you. Now, another thing that you're going to want to decide on is the areas that you want to drive. Do you want to drive in areas that you don't feel comfortable in? When you get a ride that comes to your screen through either app, you choose to pick it, and that is one of the benefits to being a driver for these companies. You get to decide where you go. You get to decide when you go on and off the clock. You need to stop for your kids' stop. You need to stop for your medical appointments. You don't need to ask anybody anymore. Now, those are really the biggest benefits to riding. And a lot of people will say, well, how do they decide how much routes cost and rides and everything? Well, there's some algorithm out there, and a lot of it has to do with the amount of drivers that are on the road, the day of the week, the time of the day, and everything like that. You can make more money driving at night, keeping in mind, do you want to be picking up people in the middle of the night? Honestly, there are a lot of people that work at night and they need those rides, but there's also a lot of people that are leaving the bars and stuff like that. So that's up to you. That doesn't work for me. And so at the end of the day, I think when you look at, can I make a lot of money? In the Denver market, you can make okay money, but it's not what they're saying. It is not this $35 an hour. I figured out, honestly, working about an 8-hour day, starting around 6 o'clock in the morning, it's pretty far-fetched to make over $19 an hour. Now, I will say this, that a lot of that goes into the tipping process. If you don't get tips, and most people here seem to not tip, well, after not necessarily asking, but talking to several riders that are vocal about their fares through both ride share companies, they discussed the fact that they're being charged a certain amount, and they were very vocal about how much they were being charged. Well, after I sat down and figured it out, guys, us as drivers on a typical day, now this isn't that one outlier where you're the only driver on the road or the storm's coming and you're the only driver on the road, and they can bump those up, is traditionally you're going to make about 15 to 25% of whatever they're being charged. So if a driver gets in and says, I'm not tipping because I was charged $100 for this ride, well, you're only going to probably get $20 to $25 out of that fare. You're never going to know that unless they're vocal about it. It's not appropriate to ask the rider how much they're charged, but some of them are pretty vocal about it. So you got to really take that into consideration. If they're being charged $100 for the ride, they may not tip. They probably figured that you're the face of those rideshare companies and you've made that big whopping chunk of money. Not the case, guys. And so the ways you can do that is be an active driver, get out and help with their luggage if they have luggage. When they get in, ask them if they need the temperature adjusted, provide them with a clean car. Maybe those are things to sway them. Engage in conversation if they want to, engage in conversation. Let them dictate that for sure. But at the end of the day, those are really the only ways that you can really kind of spice it up. I'm going to do a video on things that you need for the car and something that may help with that, but it's not appropriate to ask for a tip. But some riders will always tip, and that's just kind of the way they do it. And if you're out there doing that, us as rideshare drivers, we appreciate that, because at the end of the day, neither company provides their drivers with the vehicle. None of them provide us with insurance for the car, health insurance, reimbursement for fuel, reimbursement for wear and tear. The only thing they'll really cover is if somebody gets sick inside the car. And now they have a new thing where they allow pets in your car. So you're going to have to decide if that's something that you're going to do and allow, because some people have kennels. I'm okay with that. But do I want their little dog jumping all over my interior, my leather interior, all over the side? I don't think so. So really, there's a lot of nuances into how you're going to make money. Now, I did break it down, and if you just go straight on like mileage pay for driving, you're going to probably need to work about a 12 to 13 hour day. You're going to need to chase the bonus zones. And I think if you do work about 13 hours a day doing Uber X or Lyft standard, you're going to be probably in a 13-hour day. And if you want to work normal hours, say 6 to 6, that's a 12-hour day. I think you can make a reasonable living doing that. But by doing that too, you're going to cover a lot of miles. You'll quickly figure out that you're going to drive probably 300 to 500 miles a day, depending on how you pick up your rides and if you're going to work those hours. Just on an 8-hour day, I typically can drive close to 300 miles. So, and you got to figure out, what's going to work for you when it comes to, again, not only the hours, but how you get back to where you live. You don't want to end up driving somewhere, 3 hours away because the fare is, say, $150 fare. You're thinking that's good. Well, think you're probably going to come back empty. So that's a whole day's worth of driving, and you're only going to make $150. So just break that down by 6 hours, and you really didn't make that much money, guys. And after you take your fuel out of it. So really got to sit down and figure out fuel and everything like that. So now that we've talked about what you're really going to make and the hours you're really going to need to work, and how you can try and maximize your fare rates and how much you make a day, the pluses are quickly outweighed by the amount of money you're not going to make. Now, there are areas where you can jump up to Uber XL and Lyft XL, and that's by having 7 seats in your car, guys. So if you have 2 in the front, 2 in the middle, and 2 in the back, you are not going to be able to do Uber XL or Lyft XL. You're going to need to have a bigger car than that. And I will tell you this, if you intend on doing that, and you get a bench seat in the middle of, say, a small crossover, if you're picking up XL people, plan on them having potentially the luggage. Well, most of these smaller SUVs are not going to be able to hold 6 passengers and 6 suitcases. So be realistic, because the worst thing that you can do is go over to pick them up and find out you have excessive luggage, and then you have to cancel on them. It looks bad for the company, it looks bad for everybody. So my car, I thought would quantify for that, but after getting it, I only had 6 seats. And then sitting back thinking about it and seeing people's luggage just with 2 travelers, typically it fills up the back end of it. So at the end of the day, it doesn't behoove you to have a smaller 3-row SUV and try and compete in that market with the larger SUVs like Tahoes and whatnot. So I would say that go out, find a nice fuel-efficient vehicle that is going to be not only safe but comfortable for your passengers and you, because, mind you, if you want to work 13-hour days, you do not want to be driving something that the seat's broken down or anything like that. So do you need a new car? No, but I think the requirement is 2010 or newer, and I think it used to be 2008 or newer. And so those are really, some of the nuances that you need to be planning on if you're going to do it. Me as a previous truck driver, I try and route myself. Once I get to an area, I just stay. I don't chase bonus zones because, again, we talked about that small percentage you're actually making of the fare. Keeping in mind that bonus zones are just money you've already made the company that they could just pay you. So if they were to say break down the fare where we got 50% of it, I think that it puts drivers in a really good position for it. But I think that that's really an exacerbated number when they talk about $30 an hour. I don't see that at all. Maybe that's it for Uber Black, which you would need a high-end vehicle for that. And then again, you have higher payments, higher fuel costs, higher maintenance costs. So I'm not for sure the benefit of that. So you might be thinking, okay, Jeremy, well, how do you maximize earnings doing Uber and Lyft to do what you need to do? So I have a set amount of money that I need to make every day from this to make it of any value to me. and I typically know what time of day during the daytime that it quits. So in the Denver metro area, it seems like around 11 a.m. anywhere but downtown or potentially the airport, it dies off. So usually by then I've decided that that's the time I'm going to stop and do some of the other things I do to make money, because I don't do Uber Eats, I don't do the ride share meal delivery stuff. That's just not for me. I don't like the smell and the odors of those foods in my car, so that's just not going to happen. In addition to that, I've talked to several drivers that have been doing this for years who tried to do those things, and they said basically it was not only a waste of time, but the wear and tear, the odors and stuff like that. And then again, people are spending a lot of money buying the food, then having it delivered. They most likely aren't going to tip all that much. And I know drivers get frustrated about that, but that's kind of your own fault as a driver if you're not going to be mindful of planning it out. If it makes sense for you, then that's good. But prepare yourself, guys. Prepare yourself. I can't stress this enough, for no tipping. Again, if you're the person out there that is tipping, God bless you. We appreciate it. Even $1 is nice, because the tips, hypothetically, if they're cash, we get to keep all of them for sure. When it comes into the computer system, I have no idea if their algorithm pulls off 50 cents for themselves. I don't know. They say they let us keep it, but I would never know. So, but just plan on not doing that. So I don't do dink and dunk rides, guys. I don't do anything that incorporates less than $1 a mile. Because when I was a truck driver, that made sense, $1 a mile, because in Denver traffic, you know, that 7 miles could take you 45 minutes. And if you don't get a ride out of there that's, say, a good fare, it's another $7. Well, you just made $14 an hour. Well, you can do that anywhere else and not put wear and tear on your vehicle. So what I do is I watch the map, and when it comes up, it'll show you how far I am away from the pickup and my total miles running for the trip. So if it says I'm 0.5 miles away, okay, now that might make sense. So I then look at the total amount of miles. It says 6 miles that I'm driving total. And I know that I can do that in a short time, and say it's then $8. I won't take a ride in my vehicle for less than $8, period. That is my cutoff. But there are fares that'll take you down into a busy area, and that ride could take you 45 minutes to an hour. So you're going to have to be the judge of that, guys. So you're going to really have to be just really smart by picking it. So usually I try and stay away from any congested area, any congested highway during those rush hours. That may benefit you. It may not. It may work better for you to take those rides. You're going to have to decide that for yourself. Both apps will tell you if the tolls are included, and both apps will also tell you, you know, if it's a long trip. All right. Another thing I don't do, guys, I do not do multiple stop rides. Okay, there are some times you have to pay attention to it where you might be picking somebody up. It's a $10 fare, and you might be thinking, okay, it's only 7 miles, but it has 2 stops involved. Okay, well, those 2 stops and the ride itself, if you have enough traffic, may take you 40 minutes for $10. Okay, so I mean, you have to think about it. Now, I am saying that these rides will work out for some people. Some people might have an even more fuel efficient car. My car gets 30 miles a gallon in town. That's pretty good. So at the end of the day, it's just all going to decide how you do it. I mean, these people need the rides, so we do need to make sure that somebody out there picks them up, and there will be. So don't feel like when you're in the app, if they send you a ride and you're like, that doesn't make sense for me, then just wait and see if another rider picks it up. Because what I have noticed, if another rider won't pick it up, eventually they kind of start bumping the fare up, which they could bump the fare up, guys. They're keeping 75% of it. So, you know, at the end of the day, it's not like it's a treat or anything like that. But, you know, if you don't want to take it initially, just see if somebody else picks it up. And it might make sense to them because they're closer, or they like doing multiple stops, or they enjoy that. I don't know for you. I want to keep the tires rolling. I want to keep somebody riding in the vehicle with me at all times. So that's another way that you can do it, is watch for multiple stop trips. Look for the overall miles that you'll be traveling. And then at the end of the day, really plan your routes well. Be prepared for some days just to suck. Okay, guys? When you go out to drive, there just may not be a lot of traveling. Say the airport's slow and it's inundated with, you know, people driving on the street. Depending on your area, you can decide when you want to drive. So that is where I'm going to keep coming back to. You are your own boss. You're the captain of the ship. So I would say, as long as you pick a car that is going to be good for your market. So I picked all-wheel drive, being here in Colorado. It made sense. Reason being is because, well, I see a lot of these people doing UberX that can't probably get around all that well in the snow. They have these little bitty cars, and talking to a lot of riders who say that most drives get canceled on them because they can't get into their areas or their snow or whatever. So I picked a car that gets around good in the snow, and so I think that that's going to play better for me come winter. Now, if you live in an area where you don't incorporate snow a lot, then I'm probably suggesting just to save your money, get a few extra miles per gallon, not getting anything with all-wheel drive. But again, guys, that's the way it is. So at the end of the day, we're out driving around, and in this short time, which is all of 14 minutes, guys, I've only had 2 requests come up, both of them for under $5. So those are rides that I'm not going to pick. I'm not telling you guys not to take them. What I'm telling you is be mindful of what works for you. I did a day where I just focused on it, because if you guys are new to Automotive Inc., which I hope you subscribe down below because it helps the channel out, my whole tenets is trying to figure out the best way for everybody to keep more money in their pockets when it comes to anything. Well, I did a day of just dink and dunk rides, $8, $7 rides. And these were, didn't seem like I was doing a lot of driving, but I was busy. And I ended up putting about 160 miles on doing these little short $7, $5 rides. And by the end of the day, I ended up hauling a lot of people's groceries. I ended up hauling people around all over the place. And really, it was a flop of a day. In about 8 hours, I think I made a total of $810 between both apps, and I broke that down, and you can do the math. That was crap pay. Used fuel in my car, lots of people in and out. It just wasn't of value to me. Now, I will grab those $8 rides. Again, I have a minimum that I've set in my mind, and if I'm coming back from an area, I'm driving through an area, and it benefits me, I will grab that $8 ride and take them somewhere, because even if they don't tip, I was driving that direction anyway. So if you used proper planning, then you can do it. The apps will show you good areas to work, or areas they anticipate high flow of rides requested, but sometimes that's like chasing fool's gold. You won't always benefit from going over to those areas, and sometimes you'll be like thinking, well, that's a $6 area surge price that's going to be tacked onto the fee. No, when you see your whopping thing, it says this is the price with that fee included. So it might be a $2 ride, and then they tax $6 on it, and that's a $7.50 ride. That to me doesn't make any sense. But guys, like I said, we went over some stuff in the office there. We went over some stuff on a drive, and I will just tell you this much. In certain markets, I think you can make a lucrative daily income on it, keeping in mind you got taxes that need to come off that, you have vehicle maintenance, you have a lot of fuel depending on your fuel in your area. So to me, this is not something that I'm not going to work 13 hours a day at any job at my age anymore. I'm trying not to do that because I already have a couple of the side hustles, but you're really going to have to invest in it. But I've been in other markets, the Dallas market, where this guy had told me he was making $6,000 a month, before tax and before everything, and I think that's pretty good. But he was also doing Uber XL, and the Dallas airport's right in the middle of town, so it's right around everything. Here, our airport's not as close to anything, so I would have to say, can I make a living off of rideshare apps? Not for me. However, for individuals that have a different set standard of what they need to have as an income, that's not a fair thing for me to say for you. However, the current trend that I'm on right now, working 8 hours a day, I anticipate probably making less than $32,000, and that's if nobody tips, take out the maintenance, and pull off the taxes after that. Yeah, you're not going to make a huge living on it, but you will rack up a ton of miles. You'll meet some really neat people, and depending on who you pick up, hopefully you won't meet any unsavory characters. But at the end of the day, I do enjoy it because it does work for me and personally to be able to zip in and off the clock. And so at the end of the day, I would say, yeah, go for it. Give it a whirl and see if it works in your market. See if it works for you. It may benefit you. You might find the perfect groove to be in and make good money. For me to tell you good money, this is not good money for me. However, that's not fair to me to say that it wouldn't be good money for another individual out there. So if you can do it. And then I would also just say, guys, in the key safety, make sure your passengers are safe. You be safe out there. And if you get up to any place where you feel like that you just don't feel safe, then you get a chance to decline that rider. But I'll have a couple more videos out on tips and tricks of things you might want to add to your car to make it a successful drive. Just some equipment that you can have that's very inexpensive. And I did one the other day on how to do the Denver airport. So if you're in the Denver market, it kind of helps you out. And absolutely, guys, I appreciate you being here. Again, If you don't mind, give me a thumbs up. Please do just smash the subscribe button. It just helps me out. You can click off the little notification bell if you don't want to hear about any other content coming up. But do head over to my channel. I got tons of great stuff out there, and you can always comment. I will try and get back to you, and we'll see you on the next one.